See, there's a lot of talk these days about fiat, and what does that mean? Well, you see, money or cash, if you have it in hand, not a card, it is representative value. You know, those things are just representing what's accepted as monetary value. You count it up. So 1, a 5, a 20, and you add it all up to the amount that you have. And you can buy something with it, or you can pay for something. But these are just representative. They are not actual worth, which people would say about a gold standard. So if you were to bring a gold coin in and it was accepted that the coin was worth 20, then that's not representative. But even then, you could say that gold is fiat, because you know, what is the absolute value of gold except you know, what the people want to believe it to be. You know, that's fiat. So in the long run, everything ends up being fiat. Even though when you talk about gold and you use gold in circulation, it's not representing anything else but gold. So there's this process of humans making an economic system, and we want to say what can be a medium of exchange, and that will be the money. And if they choose gold or silver or any other precious metal, they're called precious, by the way, because they're used as money. But what else do we do with them? Now technology has given it some uses, but prior to that, maybe it had less uses, and the only use it was for money. Gold was equated with money sometimes. That's what they would fill the treasure chest with, or the treasure vault, the treasury, all gold. But then they get these big chunks of it called bullion, gold bars. And those are not coins, so it's not practical to really come and use that on a daily basis, or even if you're buying something for $1,000. It's not practical. Now in the day of the electronic plastic card. So we live in this system which has developed over time, and it's tried to evolve, but you know, you need to understand the times or the instances when it has evolved, and for what reason, and who was doing it, for whose benefit was it. You know, that's a study of history. Because if you don't understand that, then you can't really critically analyze the evolution of the economic system. And you can't figure out, well, where did the fiat come from, and how did they adjust the fiat, and how do they do QE now, quantitative easing, with nothing to back it. So that's controversial. But what I'm saying is that fiat is inevitable when you use money in a large enough system. In a closed system, like national economies, you could say you're not using fiat. You could say there's a standard to back everything that's represented in the money. So say that they want to give a stable value to the amount of gold that they have in the national treasury, right? Say it's like 500,000. So then they're going to put out 500,000 notes or cash, the amount that they have in hand. it's fiduciary trust, or more exactly, it's backing, it's liquidity, it's people can exchange that. I mean, they're really not supposed to, but see, then you have this whole issue of, why are people trading in gold? Why is there a gold market? I mean, you can't have a gold standard and then have a gold market. It doesn't work that way. See, you've got to follow logic when you're dealing with money. Not only for the fact that logic always works in whatever system, as soon as you use illogic or lack of logic, you run into chaos. Things don't work. They will wear down after a while. There will be chaos ensuing. So use a logic in your rules and use real math, because money is basically math. And when that's done, you find that you can't do two things that contradict each other. Then you're going to ruin one system, and the other one will somehow manipulate things and gain power, like the gold market. See, the gold market, trading gold either in solid delivery, repatriation, or in these gold certificates now. What is that? We got to talk about something that just happened a couple days ago at J.P. Morgan in downtown Manhattan, New York City. They had a fire. That's Jewish lightning that they used to call it in the old days. It's still a term in the insurance and fraud. Oops, did I say fraud? What burned in the vault? Oh, see, that's the thing. Anything about gold on paper, well, now we don't know. I'm sorry. You want to make a claim against us? See, now we go to court and the judge has to say, well, they had a fire. No, first you have to bring it to that court, which is rigged, but you need to ram it through to them and say, this is fraud. Then you can start all the other lawsuits. So they know that, oh, did they pay off the fire department, or just dupe them? Did they pay off the police department? Did they pay off the mayor? Did they pay off the Fed? So, we have a lot of crime going on here. And that's because the system breeds criminal activity. I'm saying that my system, or the system of the future, will not allow crime to breed, because it is a valid, solid, stable system with all checks and balances, just like the government would be, who is ruling over it, or monitoring it, operating it, regulating it. That's all the government's for, by the way. Government's for regulating the commerce, or in other words, commerce, merchants, business, economy. That's all it's there for. So, let me just tell you about the biggest dividing line that I have in my economy system. The biggest dividing line is that there's two major types of currency. Two major types. One is for capitalism. That's called, if you choose to get into business, invest, or whatever you're going to do with technologies, or anything, if you want profit, then you're going to be using a certain currency. Let's just call it the profit money. Profit type money. And then if you're just a regular person, like everybody on the planet Earth, and by the way, people can hold both types of currency, but they cannot mix, they cannot ever be converted. Just understand that. It's not like two different types of currency like dollars and yen or euro, or they cannot be converted. They cannot be exchanged. And what's this currency for the average person? This is for necessities. Okay, it's called daily type of money. The other one is profit type of money for investments in business. Now, there is a huge reason for doing this, the rationale. Okay? You want two different pools of money that do not mix. And it's the government that is going to regulate the investment side of it, the profit type money. And meanwhile, there's an oversight body which is going to be regulating government. And that's from the power of the people. Now, the people's money will also have regulation in a governing body, but that one is not subject to that much crime, because all you can do with that money is savings. And this comes from earnings, okay, basic labor. And basically everybody is going to have what they need based on labor and merit. So now we got to talk about a whole other thing and not just money, okay? Because I'm getting bored of money. Life's not just about money, even in the new system. When somebody wants to eat, right? Get this. Now I'm talking about food. Yeah, are you hungry yet? If you want to eat, you got to work. See? You want to eat, you got to work. Now, what does a child do? A child gets into the same site, the garden, the farm. We're going to call it a different thing. But they go to the site where the food is going to be produced directly. You eat what you harvest. That's how you're paid. So if you don't do that, you don't get no food. See, we're going to change the entire infrastructure of the world. I just put the supermarkets out of business. You could have specialty markets, yeah, you know, and people are going to have to use their daily needs money, the daily type money on that. That's the only way you can buy it. You can't buy it with the other money. See, there's products that you can only get for the one type of money. And then in business, you can only use the other type of money, the profit type money. So there's two types of money system attached to two different types of human activity. One is necessity and required, and one is just what do you want to do to capitalize or compete. They're going to be separate. There's a total separation going on now, folks. This is how it works. You can't have these two things. You cannot have the same currency pool getting manipulated by bankers in one hand, and then, you know, people trying to have some money to survive. These are two different systems completely. It's two different things going on. I've seen too many millions and millions of people just trying to live, and meanwhile that same dirty dollar that's in their hand just came from some dirty capitalistic deal somewhere. The same money? That's the same money? No. No, no, no. You can't have these together. So I've already made that point. Now I mentioned banks. Let's talk about banks, because banks are going to be completely overhauled. Let me just say one thing that's going to completely knock your socks off. Banks cannot be private. Okay? Banks are not the place to do capitalistic competition with the bank itself. Banks are a different purpose. We're really going back to the idea of savings banks. Remember that? Remember your what was it, your passbook savings? The savings, the little book, looks like a passport almost. They got rid of that. Why did it evolve from that? Does anyone know? Does anybody realize? Okay. Now, why do banks get so corrupt when they're private? Okay, because first of all, they can't be regulated by anybody, because they're the ones who are really controlling the government. But wait a second, if we had the government that is really operating as the thing that it's supposed to be, then there would be no bank controlling it or being more powerful than it. It would be a righteous, benevolent government that's holding its ground and doing what it's supposed to. But actually, no. You have to look at the system. I'm talking, you better take a hard look and realize the reality. The banks are controlling the governments, and they're controlling everything too much. In fact, they're the ones that are financing and encouraging the wars. More and more so. All you do is you look at the wars throughout history. It's the banks that are the ones making it happen. I'm not saying that, war can be stopped through just the money system. That's a moral thing. That's morality. That's religion. But at least if you use those things, that religious faith and religious composure, you also have to have governments and banks in line. You have to do both in order to control the war mechanism. And I'm saying in this transition there's going to be a lot of war, because once my book gets out there, it's going to cause war all across the board. I'm going to pull the plug. And, that's just inevitable, because once the idea gets out there, there's going to be people that want it. And you can't stop that. You can't stop it. I should actually stop this and do another part, because let me just finish up on the banks, though. The privatization means that they can't be controlled. It means that they just do whatever they want, and what they're doing is evil stuff. And yet, you've got different kinds of banks. You got commercial banks, and then you've got the other kind of banks. So that makes it a little bit confusing. But and then you've got stock market, which is a whole other different kind of bank. It's a gambling bank. It's a casino. And then, I don't even want to get all the other kind of paper instruments, this toxic kind of stuff, but what would we replace the banks with? Well, first of all, the bank is just a place to keep your money where it's being tallied up. You got the workers in the bank that have their hands on a system that's adding up your money, and when you do withdrawal, all your transactions, plus or minus, they're keeping a tally on it. It's kind of like the government with their budget and their treasury. Each person who deals with a bank, they have their own treasury, and they've got their account, their budget. All your transaction history in your bank account is basically a budget. So you're either going into the red or not. And where you go into the red is when the banks are creating your charge accounts. Credit card, charge card accounts. That's also a whole other can of worms. And that should not be allowed. Okay, so I've already said so many things here that we're going to separate the money, we're going to get rid of the private banks. Gosh, how do I say this? How are the banks going to be then? The receptacle for everybody keeping their money? Well, it's going to be nationalized. We still are going to have nations, but they shouldn't even be called nations. They're just going to be, we don't have the term yet to introduce right now in this video. We're just going to call it regional groups of people, which you can call historically, ethnic, or racial, or whatever. We're going by region, and it's similar to bioregions. These groups of people are going to have one bank. You don't have a choice. There's only one bank. What is the choice? Competition? No. There's only one bank to put your daily needs type of money in there. This is the daily type money. And you put it in there, and there's nothing doing. There's no interest. Unless there's the savings account, and then it's going to be like, whatever, 1%, or, it's going to accrue. No, it doesn't accrue by the moment or by the day. It's going to accrue like by the month. In these basic increments. So somebody, if they want to slowly make money by savings the way they used to 100 years ago, that's put back into place. But if they just want to use it as a receptacle for their money so they don't lose it, so it's easier to keep track of, you have the banks working on that. And these are just employees of the region. That's basically the government of the people. And whether we do it in a card or a token or a scan, scanning something, the card is basically scan. However we're going to do it, or we go back to more mechanical means, just a system by region. And it's all universal. That bank compared to the other regional bank and the other regional bank across the ocean, it's all the same money. There's no currency exchange. By the way, I put the money changers out of business. These out-of-control banksters, put them out of business. The money changers, put them out of business. I gotta go, and we'll do the next part in a little while. Thanks for listening. Oh my God, I've got an invasion of children. I'm a single father, by the way, and I have time to do all this work. Go figure. Thanks for listening. See you soon.